Hi everyone, it's Samantha Graf Benmore from the Graf Group Toronto. And on today's IG Live, Icons of Real Estate, we will be having a chat with a realtor in Chicago, Susan Morrow, and I'm just going to now. Okay, accept. Okay, there you are.
I'm here.
And there we
Okay, got
go.
it. Sorry about that.
Beautiful. No worries. You know what? I don't know. I do know it works on a laptop. I think Cheryl does it some. Uh-oh, just
No,
knocked my whole thing over. But I don't know how to use it on a laptop personally.
I do it on
Well,
the phone. It's much easier.
Hey guys.
well, we got it. Sorry for the delay.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Welcome to Graph Group Toronto IG Live, Icons of Real Estate. And with your experience, like us, you also are an icon of real estate just in Chicago.
I've been here for doing this for almost 23 years in Chicago.
Yeah, awesome. We love it. So tell us about how you got into the real estate industry. We'll start there and we'll just move along.
I moved to Chicago in 1997. I came from Washington, D.C. And when I moved here, I was in the commercial lighting industry. And I moved here and I just didn't really like it. And I had friends in real estate. And one of my friends is like, "You're smart. You get numbers. You need to come into real estate. You will love this business and you will kill it." So he brought me into it in January of 2002. And I never looked back.
Wow.
And so I've been doing it. I've been with my current company, Baird Warner, which is a privately held company, family owned. And I have been with them since I think we're on like 16 or 17 years now.
Yeah, so
So it's
just
really
like
nice.
us also, we're also with a boutique firm that has multiple offices across Ontario, but it's also family owned for, I should know this. I know it's more than 50 years
Yes.
because I know we celebrated 50 years, but I'm not sure of the exact number, to be honest. I
We're
should
coming
know that. Cheryl?
we're coming up on 170.
Oh,
Wow.
whoa, a
Oh my,
We
few
literally have
generations.
and generation to
a
generation.
absolutely.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that. That's so nice.
It's
So,
one office, one location.
No,
No.
we have many locations throughout the city. I am in our Gold Coast location, which is, of course, right off the Mag Mile and in the heart of the city. So with great views of our lake and everything else that we have to offer. But we are throughout the city and the suburbs, everywhere, and
so where
thousands,
the
thousands.
there's the realtor office
Yeah,
on Magma. Okay, so where are you in relation? Because I was just there, as everybody knows, and I just did a whole write up on it, and that's why we're here now, also to speak to a local agent for anybody who might want to make a move, personally or professionally.
but we are right up the street. We're a few blocks up the street. I hope you went into Neiman Marcus maybe, and we are upstairs from Neiman
Oh,
Marcus.
okay. Yeah, yeah. I
So right at the
remember that.
corner of Chicago and Michigan.
Yeah, it's the great restaurants, great vibe, chilled people. I always
It's
say that,
local.
yeah, Chicago and Toronto, like, I never know which way to say this. If Toronto is a combo of Chicago and New York, or is Chicago a combo of Toronto and New York?
I'm going to say Chicago is probably a combination of Toronto and New York.
Yeah, yeah,
Because we always say
yeah.
we're cleaner than New York. We're New York without attitude, and our prices are a
Yes.
fraction that of New
And you
York.
have great jazz.
We have great jazz. We have amazing food. It's a great city to be part of.
So tell us what is a typical sale in, and not necessarily number wise, but just like what sells the most in the city? Condos. I mean, I know there's all those condo buildings. You could probably talk to us about those along the water. Obviously, they have views, which would be more expensive, I would assume.
We are a mix of everything. It depends what part of the city you want to be in, what it is you're looking at buying. We are a city made up of neighborhoods, which is one of the fun things. So if you're really looking River North or Gold Coast, you're looking at condos. Some people choose to have big, tall buildings where they get amazing views. One thing people realize is you don't always want just a lake view because a lake view is great during the day, but if you work all day and you come home at night, it's dark.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
having lake with city is really beautiful and special. And some people really just want our skyline views. I personally have chosen that I like being in a boutiquier building. So I'm in a 9-story building with 63 units in the middle of River North. And it's just really nice because you get a little bit lower of an assessment, you get more square footage, and you get to be in the heart of everything. You don't have the views, but that's okay. Because again, it's all choices on where you want to be.
Right. So if somebody was a young, let's make up a scenario here, because I'm going to say in advance, though, here that there's lots of little details and questions that we ask somebody. So I might not put them all into the scenario. So there might be, well, if what about this and what about that? But let's just say that somebody is moving from Toronto. Let's use Toronto. And so they're used to coming from the city.
Okay.
They're going to move to Chicago for work purposes. Let's say they are a young couple, no kids, not bringing a car, and they're used to downtown Toronto lifestyle. Where are you putting them?
I'm putting them for the most part in River North. It is honestly where I have lived since I have been here. It is just the most exciting part of the city, and it's super close to the loop. So if you're walking to work in the loop, if you are going onto the highway, it's really easy to get on the highway. If you're going to the airport, it's easy to get to the airport. So we're really in the middle of everything. You also can get to the lakefront really easily, which our city's known
Right.
for. Like to be able to go walk and bike on the lakefront or go to restaurants in the summertime or go to Wrigleyville to see a game or to Soldier Field to see a game. There's so many different options from within River North. And it's walkable and there's great public transportation. And you don't need to have a car here, which is the nice thing. And most of our buildings are being built with less than one car parking spot per unit now.
And the subway system is easy.
Easy, super easy and super. I mean, if you want to get from here to Midway Airport, it's easy. You can get to O'Hare Airport, you can go to Wrigley, you can kind of go anywhere.
And if somebody was moving under these sort of very little bits I gave you, I know this is going to be a price range, but let's just say, like, what is it going to cost somebody? Obviously, it's going to depend on size, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, the view, the this, the that. We know this is why you hire an agent because you want to know why you're paying what you're paying and details. But what kind of range for a 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, no parking, let's say a view
Probably,
in the
I mean, the nice thing,
north?
I'm sorry,
In the area you mentioned, River
in River
North.
North.
Yeah.
I would say realistically, you can go between, on the low end, probably about 400, 425,
Okay.
up into $1.5 million, depending where you want to be and how. We have one of the most beautiful new buildings called One Chicago that we just built over COVID. A 2 bedroom there is going to cost you $3 million.
Right.
But a
Right.
lot of people don't do that. But there are many other buildings that have views. And one of the things that's interesting is obviously you can get a little bit less expensive of a unit if your assessment is higher. It's kind of how they balance out. With higher assessments, prices come down a little bit just because,
Meaning assessment by the bank?
no, by the homeowners association
Oh,
fees.
okay.
And
Uh,
I mean, one of the interesting things is also if you choose to go into a co-op building, a cooperative, where you own shares in the building,
Yeah.
you will spend significantly less on purchasing the home, but you were paying your property taxes and everything in your assessment, and your assessment
Is
appears
that
much higher.
common in Chicago? Because here we have them, but we don't really suggest, like Cheryl and I don't really suggest them. I'd rather you be in a condo apartment personally.
In a
But
co in a co-op, we found in the past the values do not increase as much as a condo. The other thing being is in many of the states, when it's a co-op, do you have it that the person has to give information, go in front of a board, and then do you have to be accepted by the board?
mhm.
You have
100%. All of your points are exactly right and exactly dead on. It is why I often do not recommend them,
Yeah.
right.
but they are some of our most beautiful older vintage units in the city, and some people choose that option.
They're large.
Right.
I
Times. Do you have an average price for buying a condo in Chicago? Like in Toronto, we know that if you're going to condo, it can vary from so much per square foot, but usually if you're talking in the central core, it could be 1,000 to 2,500 up to 3,000 a square foot. Very
wow.
Just
very
remember, we're talking Canadian dollars and you're talking American, so that 2,000 is
a little
a
bit
lot less for you guys.
yeah.
But and the one thing that is fascinating is that our city,
Oh, oh, her phone or something
airport.
might be ringing.
No, it might have froze.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay, you're back. You're
Oh,
back.
You,
sorry.
if you could start from the beginning of that conversation. Sorry,
So
you
we
froze.
usually don't do price per square foot. It's really not how we have ever priced our buildings. Some buildings came in saying, "Oh, we're going to be match New York prices, and we're going to be at 2,500 a square foot," and things like that. Doesn't often happen. I mean, the difference in what you're going to pay in the central business district area is really what level of amenities you want, how new of a building you want,
Mm-hmm.
what the views are, and then of course the size of your unit. I can put you in a gorgeous 2 bedroom right now with no view, but it's 1,800 square feet within unit washer and dryer and parking and all that at 750.
Wow.
Hmm.
I could also put you in that same square footage again at almost $3 million
Right.
that has gorgeous views, has 24-hour doormen, all of that. It is a unique thing here, and like how you choose to live. The amazing thing is our prices truly are a fraction that of the East Coast or the West Coast. It is one of the most things that I love about Chicago. Our values don't go up in the same scale that New York does or California does, but they're consistent and it's super affordable, which is why I've sold so many, honestly, second homes these days. I've had about 6 people in the last 2 years who have bought in towns in Chicago.
So are they living in the suburbs and they're buying a condo in the city, or the other way around?
Some of that, some I also have a couple from Austin. I have a couple from Amsterdam. I have a couple from Arizona right now that have all bought in towns in the area because, again, it's so affordable and it's such a great city to be part of.
And are they doing it to actually live in them, or are they renting them out, or are they investments?
No, they're to live in. They're to be
Okay,
in towns for. They are to be in towns.
interesting.
None of our condo buildings allow short-term rentals.
Right.
Well,
So
there's a
there's no,
new, I mean, I just did a video. It's going out I don't know, Thursday or something, but we now have a new tax implication that they're going to have to pay 13% on when they sell. Possibly that you definitely have to speak to a tax person about this to get your details, but it used to be if it was their primary residence and they're renting it out, because there's a lot of people who, for example, they live in a detached home or a semi, and they're renting their basement out as an Airbnb, or they've created another dwelling like residential dwelling, but they rent out just, and it is their primary residence though. So
But
there's going to be,
but to clarify, it is if it's an Airbnb, then it will be taxed at 13%
yeah, short-term rental. Yeah.
until some.
Interesting.
Yeah. It
Are
has to be a short-term rental.
are you finding your market, because of the interest rates being as high as they were and now starting to be cut because they're cutting it quite a bit in Canada now, that you're finding properties that were sitting sort of on the market for such a long time from the summertime, they now are the buyers starting to come out more?
Well, what's interesting here is that our mortgage interest rates had dropped and were the lowest in early September. When
Mm,
our Fed dropped 50 basis points, our
right.
interest rates went back up.
Oh,
Oh, really?
They've gone back up.
And
We
do you think
also,
the election has anything to do with this?
that was my next comment. We have always found, and it was interesting because someone keeping current matters put out a report today. For some reason, in an election year, before an election, our market goes quiet. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think it doesn't matter who it is that wins when the election's over, the market will pick up. And they have
And
shown.
And that's interesting because in Charleston, I was there and I met with some realtors there and I've had conversations. And one of them, Stacy Smith, said to me that she's finding that historically it gets quiet, but they're not finding it that this year. But I think Charleston's a little different. I feel like Charleston is getting on the map now. And that's what I was really excited. Like, I mean, look, I've never been to Charleston. I knew nothing about it. And I was like, buy a second home in Charleston. This is the best place. Like, I loved it there.
It's beautiful. I mean, like
Yeah.
Nashville is not following this trend either.
Ah,
Nashville is so
interesting.
crazy off the charts.
Haven't been there yet
Chicago
either.
is, Chicago just kind of goes with the slower pace.
Right.
So, I mean,
Right.
I absolutely believe come next week, things will start picking up again.
And,
And the anticipation for next year is that the year after the election should be a really strong market.
and do you think
So if
the
you're
same
looking,
is for New York?
I think they slow down around the elections,
I
not
think
as
so
much as we
too.
do.
Yeah.
because in Toronto, we're expecting two decreases,
Rate cuts. Yeah.
one in December and then another one at the end of January. So talking there could be 75 basis points between the two, or,
Mm-hmm.
but whatever. So a lot of our people are either saying, okay, the prices are really low now, and if I can get a closing after January 29th,
Oh, wow.
then they can get a better rate.
But I'm
Other some people are saying the rates are good now and they may go with an open mortgage or a variable and that will fluctuate with it, and then good they're getting a good buy now in this
well,
I
city.
think
also
we're
if
getting
they're
there.
yeah, and if they're doing it all cash, I mean, if you're not borrowing money, then you absolutely should be buying now because
Absolutely.
they're the people who are on the market now. I'm not saying they have to sell. They're not desperate. I'm not going to put that out there, but they want to sell and they're prepared to sell. Whereas you're going to have a flurry of buyers come February. January 29th is the second cut. So, probably even they'll start in January, like Cheryl mentioned about the closing date. But there'll be a lot more people who can qualify, and they're also talking about removing some of the stress test. I don't know if they're lowering it or they're going to remove it completely, but I think we're still a little bit away from that. But it is in conversations.
Interesting. I mean, the thing is, again, the weird thing we had happen is we all thought when we did the first cut from the Fed that the rates would come down. It didn't do that.
Right.
So that's the weird thing. So we're hoping the next cut, it will help them, but we're back. And we were close to 6% before they cut
Yeah.
them, and we're back now at
Wow.
7. So people
Oh,
are still
wow.
like, and it's the whole concept of, wait a second, we're never going back to the interest rates we had over COVID. That was so artificially deflated to try to do something with our marketplace. These are decent numbers. It is, my parents certainly had double that interest rate when they bought, their first homes. And it was fine. I mean, we just have to change the norm and for people to understand interest rates will always fluctuate. But yes, if we can get them down a little lower, it would be great. And our prices are down. So it becomes a full win-win for the
Well,
buyers.
But you
Cheryl's
have,
very familiar with the really high. I mean, Cheryl's been doing this for 43 years. So I'm 30 years in, and you're 23. So we're like pretty much like we've been through different waves. Um,
Absolutely.
but oh my God, like I remember my mom, like I was, obviously in university or high school or whatnot. And I remember my mom like sweating, like coming home, like from a day of an open house where like you couldn't move these houses. Like, I mean, it was, and the sellers were paying more commission
Oh, yes.
because you couldn't sell a house. So they're like trying to encourage buyers agents to come forward.
but back then there were a lot of vendor takebacks.
Yes.
But you have one advantage in the US because you're able to write off the interest on your mortgage. We are not.
Mm,
Okay.
But we, in turn, have the big advantage that when you sell your primary home, you pay no tax on it.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
And
So it's sort of like one kind of balances
mhm.
off the other. Like somebody may say, well, I'd like the write off, because it cost me less money because of my earnings and everything. But when, it goes up, let's say somebody buys their house 40 years ago and they pay 100,000 and they sell it for 2 million, they're not paying any tax.
that's
So that probably is a lot better than going,
right.
right off. But there's pros and cons to each
I mean,
of them.
it's interesting. Our cash buyers tend to exist at the higher end of the
Yeah.
market. They're not as much in the middle of the market.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for a lot of these units, it is still getting a mortgage and managing that and understanding how
Right.
that works.
Right.
Well, and having the right mortgage brokers that really can partner and help. I mean, we're also right now, we are going through the transition in the States, and I don't know if it's affected you in Canada or not, with all of the new rules regarding cooperative compensations. You're getting that as well?
Okay.
Sorry,
We
go ahead,
have
Sarah.
Okay, we have some rules, but we haven't gotten to the point where the buyer is going to pay your commission. We're not there yet. That could
Hoping
be
we don't get
very,
there.
yeah, I hope that we never get there. Um, but we do have the representation. We have our rules that you have to send the pamphlet out, so people, self-representation or not. But we're not at the point where the buyer has to pay the commission. That's going to be tough.
Interesting, because I find, and I truly believe in my market, in the market that I work within, my sellers still understand the value of offering a cooperating commission for a buyer's broker, and that it is something that I discuss with them up front, and it is something that they are there. They expect that it's still coming because they do understand that the more people you can get to lay eyes on a property, the better off we are. So
Absolutely.
it is just really kind of how rearranging numbers and doing numbers differently, but not really that, it's not that different of a number. It's just how we do the math.
I think there'll be people who are like eager to jump on that bicycle because that's all it'll be, but most people are driving the car kind of thing. And they're used to driving a car. They're not going to a bicycle. They're not going to pedal that hard.
Good
You know.
analogy. I like that.
It just came to my head. I wasn't even sure if it was making sense at first,
Oh,
but I
it
guess
completely
it did.
makes sense.
It makes sense. Really good.
So we have a couple
Yeah.
of roundup questions that we like to sort of put out there. I'm going to use because we talked about views. So my first question will be, if when you're in Chicago, what's one of the best places for a view of the city?
My favorite place closed, which was the top of the Hancock building, had a great bar that you could go and see the great views of the
Yeah.
city. I personally love going down to Oak Street Beach because at
Oh,
Oak Street Beach and walking along the beach, you can look back and see from the iconic Drake to the Hancock building to a lot of the beautiful skyline, which is really fun to see. So I'm a big fan of seeing it from the lakefront.
okay. So my next question is finish a sentence. Only in Chicago.
Only in Chicago can you, hmm, oh my goodness, there's a lot of onlys that we can do. It's only in Chicago can you experience a gorgeous beach like you're in Florida, but
Right.
have it be
The city, the water.
in the
Yeah.
city
Love
and
it.
Truth.
beautiful water
Truth.
and waves and everything else.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's so unique to us.
And three words that best describe Chicago.
Classic, exciting. I'm going to do a double word, spectacular food.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
Nice.
Good.
So
Well
absolutely.
done. Well done.
Well done.
And Susan, how can people reach you if they have any questions about Chicago real estate or just neighborhoods, anything? Where's the best place for them to reach you?
Best place is you can get to me through Instagram and I will respond there. You are more than welcome to send me an email at susan.morrow@gmail or give me a call. And my phone number will make sure my phone number is attached to this
And
as well.
And
But love to
anybody
help.
on our side is welcome to obviously contact Cheryl or I, and we're always happy to introduce you to Susan. So have an awesome rest of the week. Thank you so much for your time. And we look forward to seeing how it all progresses after the election.
Sounds wonderful. We do too. And I'm so glad we did this. And I look
Yes,
forward to continuing our relationship.
absolutely. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you
Okay.
next week.
Bye.
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 Oh, where's
Uh-oh.
X?